Hi, Anna Karen. Last set of essays. Let's see what you wrote here. This is about green energy, so let's get straight into it. The issue of whether more sustainable ways of energy have a lower cost or they represent a high hazard to energy security has grown in importance since the advent of the Sustainable Development Goals created by the United Nations. I believe that definitely renewable energy is the most suitable way to reduce the damage to the earth, besides being an affordable investment. This essay will discuss both sides using examples to prove the arguments. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Let's move on. On one hand, there is ample evidence in first world countries that green energy such as solar, aeolic, and hydro energy, you don't need this semicolon here, it should have just continued, are great alternatives to reduce CO2 emissions. That is because there is no need for the combustion of a source. Indeed, renewable energies take advantage of natural resources, sun, wind, and rain, which in turn reflect not only benefits for the environment, but also results in reducing the cost of production. For instance, an empirical study by the American government reported that in California, solar energy has provided power without any problem during the last 2 years. On top of that, it has reduced the cost by 30% in comparison to the expenditure from the 5 previous years. Therefore, it is proved that green energies are more affordable than fossil fuels, besides being environmentally friendly. Okay, that's fine. You covered both the points, environment, money, so I was satisfied with that. Let's see. As far as grammar goes, I thought it was okay. I like this. Reflects not only, but also. That was good. This was okay. I mean, there wasn't anything other than that, not only, but also. There wasn't really anything particularly, higher level, sophisticated as far as grammar is concerned, but it was all accurate grammar. It was good grammar. It certainly wasn't like simple sentence grammar, so I would say yes to that. Vocabulary, you had a couple of areas where I thought this is nice vocabulary. It's, here, and then let's see, renewable energies. Yeah, it was fine. I was okay with everything. I mean, it felt pretty precise to me. It's not like I ever thought to myself, "Ooh, she really needed a different word here." No, so I thought it was pretty precise. I felt good about this paragraph. All right, so let's move on. On the other hand, in some countries, experts have debated that renewable energies might result in a threat to energy security. That is largely because they consider that global warming is a factor that must not be forgotten. Consequently, trusting in natural resources can lead to serious problems to generate energy. This is a little awkward. Can lead to serious problems. Let's see. Trusting in natural resources can lead to serious problems. There's something awkward about this. I'm trying to fix it, but let's see. Let me try it one more time. First of all, they're all natural resources. Even fossil fuels are natural resources. So to make this natural resources a way of kind of using a synonym for renewable sources isn't really appropriate, because even fossil fuels are natural resources, so be careful with that. All right, so that's one thing, but there was something else that just made me feel like you were trying to say something different here. Let me try it one more time. Consequently, trusting in renewable resources can lead to serious problems of energy generation. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Lead to serious problems. Generating energy. I think that's what you want. Can lead to serious problems generating energy. Why don't we do that? That means that the lack of those resources could lead to the disruption of power supply in a city or region for a couple of days as a result of the conditions of weather. All right, what? I think you could have stated this a little more clearly. I think I know what you're trying to say. You're saying that weather affects how much of these resources we have, and therefore, depending on the weather, we could have less or too much of a particular energy source. I think you could have reorganized this to make it just a little bit better. Okay? However, other experts who advocate for green energies have argued, you don't need a comma here, that the same situation might be experienced with fossil fuels. Okay, to illustrate that, they have stated the historical blackout in New York, which lasted 3 days due to a fire in the... Okay, hold on a second. First of all, it's not that they have stated that. you want a different word here, and you didn't need all these commas. So let's try it a little differently. To illustrate that, they pointed out the historic blackout in New York, which lasted 3 days due to a fire in the principal energy station, electric station, maybe. Thus, the arguments of those who are against green energy do not reflect the real risk or disadvantage to abandon new sustainable ways of power. Okay, that's fine. I mean, some of that was a little awkward. As you could see, I corrected a couple of areas in here that were a little problematic, but on the whole, it's fine. So let's move on. To conclude, taking into account the arguments and examples given, I firmly deem that renewable energies are more affordable and environmentally friendly than traditional sources. Moreover, green energy could represent a solution to provide power even in undeveloped countries. It is predicted that in 2030, most of the sources of energy will come from natural resources. Careful with this word. We talked about why natural resources is not a good synonym for renewable sources of energy, creating a more sustainable world for generations to come. All right, and Karen, this is nice. I liked it. Was it perfect? No. I mean, there were a couple of little areas that I thought you could have worked on a little bit in terms of the way you organized your paragraph, in terms of some language that you used. I mean, it could have been just, a step better. Not a huge step, a little step. Okay? But it was a good essay. It was a solid essay. It was, in general, a high level. There were just a couple of little things, as I pointed out throughout, that I thought you could have done a little better, okay? But feel good about this as an essay. As you've probably figured out by this point, I have a reputation for being a little strict with my scoring, and I have in my mind, how a really high-level essay could be, and so that's kind of what I have in my mind when I'm scoring these. So I'm kind of putting you up against what in my mind would be a very, very high scoring essay. So that's why I'm looking at details, and I'm looking at things that I think you could fix, and I think you should fix, I think you should try to fix, so that you can safely get to that point where you want to be. Okay? But as I said, feel good about this essay, because on the whole I thought it was a good essay. I thought it was a well-written essay. Let's move on to your task 1, okay? Let's do that now. All right, so your last task 1 here is a map. So let's see what you wrote here. All right, the image illustrates the changes of an island before and after becoming a touristic place. Okay, I never really like the word place. Like when people talk about homes or they talk about like locations, I never really like the word place. It feels a little too informal, maybe a little too casual, like spoken English. I would have preferred here destination. That would have been a much better word, and it certainly feels higher level than the word place. Place feels also a little imprecise, okay? So let's move on. Overall, it can easily be seen that there was a dramatic transformation on the island. Some years ago, it was a virgin place. Okay, you could say it was a virgin location with only palm trees. Well, we don't know for sure that they're palm trees. We know that they're trees, so be careful with this. So it was a virgin place only with trees on it and surrounded by sea, whereas nowadays it has become a tourist venue. Lovely. Let's move on. All around the island, there are footpaths and vehicle tracks that help to move through it. In the west, the beach remains in the same location as before. However, some trees were chopped down to construct 6 cabins in front of the beach. Okay, that is not the only place for accommodation. On the east, I would have put a different punctuation here. Maybe a semicolon would have been good, or you could have had a colon as well. On the east, there are 8 cabins more built in a circle. In the right of that set of cabins, there was not the lake that is set at the present. All right, now that's awkward. You want to say something else here. I understand what you're trying to say, but let's change it. So, to the right of the cabins, there is now a man-made lake that did not exist before. Okay, that's a better way to say it. Let's see. Furthermore, in the center of the island, another group of trees were cut down and replaced by 3 new premises, a restaurant, a nightclub, and a business center. I don't believe that it's a nightclub. I think it's a restaurant, a hotel, and a mall, if I'm not mistaken. Finally, on the south coast, was developed appear. Careful, get rid of the comma, get rid of the was. So on the south coast was developed appear where yachts are allowed. Now, I see a lot of students writing sentences like this. I kind of corrected it, although it's still not ideal. I would have liked to see you use a different word order in this sentence. So why don't we try that? So finally, on the south coast, a pier was developed where yachts are allowed. All right, that's far more natural English. Let's see. Did you write anything else? No. Okay, so you covered the houses, you covered those three things in the center, you covered the footpaths. You pretty much covered everything. In the overview, you covered the fact that there was just some trees, so that's fine. Generally, I see a lot of people, when they do this map, they go straight into the changed destination. You kind of did that. I mean, you briefly mentioned what the before was in your overview, but that was it. Now, one of the things that I tell students in my task ones is that just because you mention something in your overview, that doesn't mean you're done with it and you should never mention it again. In fact, it is so important. If it's so important that you put it in your overview, then you should go into more detail about it in your description paragraphs. So here you mentioned to us that some years ago the island was a virgin location with only palm trees and surrounded by sea. Okay, that's fine. But if it were up to me in your description paragraphs, you should have gone into a little detail. So you could have said that, first of all, you've got the scale here. So I would have liked you to have used the scale. Tell us how many meters wide it is. Tell us how many meters it is north to south. Mention that there are trees in the northeast, in the northwest, and up and down the central portion of the island. And that's it. There's nothing else. There's a beach on the west coast of the island, and that's it. No other vegetation, no other construction, nothing. Okay, so starting off just briefly with that is a good idea. And then you can mention then the after and how the island has changed. You would want to mention possibly as a detail here that the trees in the northeast of the island remain. And then all the other changes here. Okay, but just remember that as a rule of thumb, that if it's so important that you need to mention it in your overview, then you need to talk about it again in your description, but with more detail. Okay. Okay. So that's pretty much it for this. You said your exam was on Tuesday. I'm not sure if it was yesterday Tuesday or if it's next Tuesday. I hope it wasn't yesterday Tuesday because I would like you to have these before you sit your exam. In any case, do let us know. If it is next Tuesday, you could probably do a few more essay corrections with us to really just, keep you up to speed and to get you some more feedback before your exam. So let us know either way. Let us know how your test goes, how else we can help you, and of course your results when you get them. All right. I want to wish you tons of luck. You've been working really hard. It's been lovely to work with you. So best of luck to you.